Hello and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues and events that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the leaders, the characters, the personalities in this magical place in which we live. I'm so excited to be talking about the Portsmouth Housing Authority with two dear friends, longtime guests. Jim Seveny, welcome.
Thank you.
Terry Courtfriend, welcome. Jim, you have had your finger in a lot of pots. You have been a counselor, a senator, like just everything. And here you are, chair of the Portsmouth Housing Authority now.
Yes.
And Terry, you are currently our representative from District 72 in our State House of Representatives, right?
Yes.
So again, this is one of the many things I know both of you guys do. So very grateful that you are here.
He has dragged me into many a thing.
Well, yeah, I can tell. I can tell by your rapport that you would just get really pulled in to really, I mean, this is a very important thing, this housing authority. So I've been learning about it, and I think I'd like to just back up and rewind, tell a little bit of the history. I don't know, Jim, do you want to try to kick that off? A little history of the Housing Authority and how we got to where we are today. Let's start there. And again, I kind of know nothing, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the state passed a law back in the mid-50s establishing the ability or the authority to have some sort of housing authority locally. Any community could establish one. So
for what purpose?
Basically to support and grow housing for. We started. It was housing for the elderly, but it's the elderly, disabled.
Like affordable housing?
Affordable housing.
Fair word?
Yeah, those that wasn't the terminology back in those days,
Right.
but yeah, affordable housing.
Yeah.
Quaker Manor was the first in Portsmouth, and that got its start through a council resolution. Under the law, the way it all works is if you want to have a housing authority, the town council or the city council has to pass a resolution, after having a hearing, that says, hey, we want one, we think we need one for the following reasons, and the law says what those reasons are. So the council did that in September of '62.
Okay.
The following October.
For all our times.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Oh, Jim. Don't out yourself. No, I'm kidding. I was there.
I was almost driving, but so then the following month, we applied for and received our charter as a housing authority from the Secretary of State's office. That's what the law required.
Yeah.
So once the resolution was passed and I went to the Secretary of State and they approved it and gave us a charter, we became a thing.
And can I ask, this had to do with Quaker Manor. So the idea behind the Housing Authority was sort of like a board to oversee it, or?
This is a, well, we can get into that because the powers and authorities of any housing authority are like 2 pages long. There's a whole, in fact, there's 2 chapters under Title 45, which the cities and towns stuff. Under 2 chapters, 25 and 26, there are dozens of powers and authorities articulated in that law on what a housing authority can do. It's once the town decides it wants one.
Yeah, it's all legit.
And charters it.
Yeah.
It becomes a separate, independent entity.
Yeah.
We are a body politic in and of ourselves.
Okay.
Kind of like a quasi on the state level.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a quasi
And then how many
agency.
people are currently involved in it right
5.
now?
There's 5 on the board.
5 on the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's kind of always been 5, maybe?
Yes.
per-
Under the law,
Okay.
5 members, unless you ask to have that changed, then there's
Right.
procedures for that as well. But
Okay.
for us and for most, it's 5 members.
All right. Well, I've interrupted you. You were back at Quaker Manor. So
Well,
what
Quaker Manor
happened?
Quaker Manor didn't exist. First, the Housing Authority came along,
Yeah.
and then they I'm not sure how the funding stack was established in order to build Quaker Manor. But Quaker Manor was built in the mid '60s, and then it was added on to. It was expanded in the early '80s, and so
And
now,
that's Quaker Estates.
yeah, that's Quaker.
Okay.
So there
Yeah.
are.
So our viewers will be familiar with those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're on the same campus.
Yeah.
They're on the same campus, but they're different.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well,
got it.
they're different legal entities. They're all LLCs of one flavor or another.
Okay.
But basically, they all do the same thing. Okay. It was when it first started. It was housing for the elderly. And then several years ago, back in 2016, 2017, there were some changes made. As it turned out, those changes weren't that great, but they changed the type of HUD program that that oversaw all this stuff, so they could borrow some money to fix the place up. And so now, certainly Quaker Manor
Needed
is
that.
it's affordable. It's low income housing as well as disabled and elderly, and they're all mixed
So
in
a
together.
broader set of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So,
So the housing authority's been chugging along, my understanding is there's been some big changes maybe recently
Well,
related to these properties and the role with the housing authority. You want to
they ran
share
into
any
some
of that?
they ran into some issues about the time they changed the program in 2017. They really needed to fix the place up.
Yeah.
Because it had been around now, at that point, it had been around, going on 40 years.
I can understand what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
We all can, right?
So they took out a loan, the numbers didn't quite work out, and about the same time, the management that was in place and had been in place for decades, it's time to retire, so they left.
Basically,
So a little
one
perfect
person.
storm of
Yeah.
new leadership, a mortgage that maybe we weren't covering quite, right? Like that's
Right.
sort of what
Right.
was happening. And so
Overleveraged.
then what happened there? I mean, that's
Well,
time for a big change, right?
Terry and I started getting phone calls from some of the residents going, hey, things aren't right up here.
Yeah.
So when we looked at it, we
Heat
thought,
not working.
Yeah.
No
And were you guys
response.
getting calls because of your roles as representatives of,
Right.
so not as,
Yeah.
you weren't part of the housing authority then?
no.
Right, you were just getting we've got a problem.
Right.
Somebody's got
So
to
I'm
do
calling my
something.
representatives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, okay. And then now here you are, fixing problems.
Yeah. Well, the logical thing is to turn to the Housing Authority Board
Yeah.
to find out what's going on and
Yeah.
how can we help. And that's when we figured out that
Was a bunch of a board left.
the previous few years, they just sort of winnowed
Fizzled
away,
a
and
little.
there wasn't a board.
Yeah.
Right. They weren't filing minutes.
Yeah.
They weren't having meetings.
Okay. Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
see how that sometimes happens, even though we wish it didn't. But that's what you walked into.
Yeah.
So then you all helped fill a little bit of a vacuum there, and
Well, we went to the
sort things
council
out.
and said, hey,
yeah.
there is no board. You need a board. So,
Yeah.
So
we'll volunteer.
Fresh
Okay.
people.
yeah.
Okay.
This is back in
And
20.
here you are.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 years later now.
Right.
At least, right?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we became the board, then we found out about the fines for the
Yeah.
inaction of the previous board that
Yeah.
didn't.
So there was a little digging out. But we're dug out now.
Yeah.
We're dug out there, and there's a
Yeah.
new situation. Like there's no longer a mortgage, right? Like all of
Well,
this has been sorted.
the mortgage is still there.
But it's not our
But
mortgage
it's-
anymore.
It's not our mortgage. One of the things when everything turned over, and the management agent that was running it retired, the accountant who was doing the books, and more importantly, the HUD required reports, also retired.
Yeah.
There was really nobody left behind. One of the director's assistants took over and did the best they could, I guess. But
Right.
So reports went
That's right.
submitted, and
And like you said, HUD needed those reports.
Yeah, the HUD requirements
Demanded.
were not
Demanded. Like
yeah.
that's like.
It's
Yeah.
law, and
Well, I mean, the way all this works, I mean, these are run on
federal dollars.
HUD subsidies, federal dollars. Okay,
Right.
these are
So if you
subsidized
don't do your reports,
housing
you
units.
don't get the subsidies.
Well, worse than that, you get the subsidies, and then they look for the reports to show
Right.
how you spent it, and when you don't come up with them, that's
That's
when you get into
trouble.
trouble.
Because the people living there
Yeah.
are receiving the subsidies,
Yeah.
but the agency or the authority is
So that's a very
responsible
scary
to provide
situation,
the
right?
accounting.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you don't want to fool with that because these are people's homes, and the
Yeah,
way it works
in their
is
lives.
They could have come in and taken over.
yeah, and the way it works is your portion of the rent for the apartment that you're living in is based on your income, and the rest of that is a HUD subsidy.
Right.
Right.
So both of those things, the rent you pay and the subsidy, go to the
I
management
get you.
agent.
That's very scary. That like. You're right. That those are people's lives, and they
Yeah.
weren't responsible for filing that report, right? Like so that. So okay.
Yeah.
So
And they
thank
had
goodness.
reorganized Quaker Manor into this new program that I think we were one of the first in the country to do.
Yeah.
And it hampered some of the ability to increase the rents. That was another contributing factor to
Yeah.
the authority kind of being Quaker Manor being underwater.
Yeah.
And it brought additional reporting requirements and things like that. It was called a Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. One of the reasons is that the old accountant decided to retire because he wasn't going to deal with all that additional
Yeah, it was just so
Paperwork.
painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
eventually, Terry and I and Gary Gump put our names in and were appointed to the board.
He's behind the scenes here
Yeah.
for our viewers.
Oh, yeah.
He's with us.
Yes.
Just on the
Yes.
other side of the wall there, listening. Should we bring him out?
You bring them out, have a think about. Sure. So anyway, we got on the board in October of 2020. We had one meeting in November to organize ourselves and get moving. And the very next thing that happened in early January was we had another meeting to try to figure out how we were going to deal with this letter we just got from HUD saying we're going to fine you $150,000 for not submitting your reports.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow, what a thing to inherit.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's all sorted now, though. It's all,
Yes,
and
it
there's a
is.
new
Yes.
kind of management team running things, and
Yes.
And the town did provide financial support to help us dig it out of this.
Oh, the
Yeah.
town's helped out in
Yes.
a number of ways
Yes.
to make sure this
yeah,
would
well,
all.
it sounds
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's actually a total success story. Like, we've come out the other end of it. So
Well-
then, what are you all doing now? What's on the radar of the Housing Authority right now?
Well, I mean, now that you're out from under just a huge financial and legal and property management burden,
Yeah.
you can sort of open the aperture and say, well, what else can we do? Because the things the Housing Authority can do, like I was telling you, the sky's the limit.
Very broad.
Depending upon the financial resources and your imagination, a housing authority can borrow money. They can build stuff. They can buy land. They can sell stuff. They can interact with the town, do deals with the town for public works support and other things. I mean, they're
Wow.
I mean, it really is an independent agency,
yeah.
a body.
Yeah.
And the interactions with the town are really the town appoints the members of the board, the commissioners, the board of commissioners.
And that would be the council appointment.
Council appoints.
Okay.
The council can fire you if you're doing a bad job, and the board of commissioners owes the council an annual report every year.
Okay.
But outside of that, we're an independent activity.
Right.
Okay.
But
So.
here in Portsmouth, we don't have any financial resources, so we would have to work with the town on, I think, whatever.
Right. It
We-
would be a joint partnership going forward with
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it would be with the town, it would be with organizations like Church Community Housing,
Yeah.
HUD.
organizations like, HUD, organizations like Phoenix Property Manager, who is the current property management. You know, by the
For
way,
Quaker.
for
For
Quaker and for Quaker
Yeah.
Estates, for that whole complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, they are the bright light in all of the processes, the actions, including the financial actions that had to happen in order to
Get where we are.
get HUD off our
So
back.
we're grateful.
Oh, very, very grateful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For one thing, they're competent property managers. They do this
All
in a
over the
lot of
country.
places, all over the place, and they're
Great.
very good at it. They're also very generous with us and with the town.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
How'd you find them?
we didn't. HUD ordered the previous property manager to do two things: find a suitable replacement for yourself, and then fire yourself, which is
Kind of a court order.
And that all happened. They started work on January 1st, 2021, right after we had been appointed by the council. So
my
there
goodness.
was a new board of commissioners and a new
new
property manager.
Sounds like we can make a soap opera about
And they
it
do
all.
manage.
Jeez.
They manage Anthony House. So
Yeah.
and the founder of Phoenix is from Portsmouth originally.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
he has
cool.
some ties. He doesn't live here now, but he definitely has ties to the community.
Are there other properties that we haven't mentioned that?
Oh, sure. The Ada Bethune property,
Okay.
the Church Community Housing is just now putting the finishing touches to.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's so exciting.
Oh,
isn't
that's
it?
very
Yes.
exciting. Yeah.
Wow.
We don't
yeah.
have a formal role in that right now, but as we look forward,
Right. Well, because part of the mission is affordable housing for
Right.
our
Right.
town.
Right.
And I understand there are some kind of standards that the state has put out for every township, right?
Yeah.
And how are we
Yes.
doing on that? Do we know?
Yeah. Yes, we do know.
we're not very good.
Not great.
But the Ada Bethune House will be.
All of
that's
that's
a
helpful.
that's an addition.
That will help.
And let's talk
then-
about what's happening on Sprague Street, or what might
Yeah.
happen on Sprague Street, right? We're just kind of
Yeah.
in a theory land right now, or what's going on?
I think it's been approved by the council.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
It's been approved,
Approved
at
by
the planning board.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
and there are more approvals to go. And
Yes.
I mean,
Now,
it's
did you bring a
Yeah.
picture or a rendering?
I did ask.
So let's have Jim. Jim, you want to hold that up and we'll show our picture.
Are you
Yeah,
upside down? Are
right.
you
But
right
Terry,
side
you
up?
want to talk about
Yeah.
this, or
Well, it's on Sprague Street and Bristol Ferry Road, and it's 40 units, and it does have to complete going through the permitting process. And I think at the state level, that was one thing that the state has been trying to make easier for low-income developers like Church Community Housing to get through that process a little bit.
because it's just so bureaucratic and it's just burdensome. So they needed
I
to.
think so. Yes. Yeah. And I'm not going to say it's that we've solved all the problems, but it's been a priority of the House to accelerate housing
And that's
development
something you work
at
on.
large.
You work on that every day.
Well,
Right?
our chamber does, I'll say.
Yeah.
I don't sit on the municipal committee, municipal government committee, and that's where a lot of the housing bills go through. I sit on the finance committee, but my colleagues sit on that committee, and it has been a priority of the Speaker Shikarchi, for sure.
Okay.
So, and I brought a list of all the bills that we have passed in the last
Well, let's
4 years.
talk a little bit about some of those that are relevant to share or to celebrate, or that shed some light on or things that impact us. So I love that you brought a
Good.
list.
I did bring a list, but
Yeah.
it's all we would be getting into the weeds. For instance, I'm just picking one randomly off the first page that was passed in 2022 that allows multifamily rental units under a comprehensive permit to be calculated towards the affordable housing inventory. So that is, that's a way for a community to
reach that
increase
goal.
that goal. That's right. And that's what we're trying to do, is to make it easier for communities to reach those goals.
Well, yeah, because everybody feels it. Like they're like,
Yeah.
gosh, my kids can't afford to live here
And
on this island.
I do believe that, I've heard the speaker say multiple times that just increasing stock across the state will help to drive prices down.
Yes.
I hope that's
Like a simple
the theory.
supply-demand
Right,
situation.
right.
It's all, yeah,
Yeah, and I think these multi-family complexes like Sprague Street are a good way for us to do that. I think building single-family homes, while that's great, I'm not totally convinced. Like in the parts of my district where second home ownership and short-term rentals is a big thing of concern to my constituents, and so I think when you build
like elaborate on that.
Yeah,
Just
well,
tell me,
when you build a single-family home, the property owner has rights to do what they want with that home, and it may or may not contribute to housing people year-round, which is kind of the goal of the state.
Right.
We
they
might
want it to be a second home.
a second home, or
And then they wanna be here in
a
the summer.
vacation home,
Yeah.
or maybe it's a rental property, but not renting for somebody who's living and working here, renting for vacation rental, or
Right.
A weekend rental.
Right.
Which
So you're paying a lot of
know,
attention to what's happening with these things, right?
Yes, I sit on the study commission on short-term rentals, so yeah, I have been keenly aware of that, because some of my constituents have concerns about just the number, particularly in the Middletown part of my district.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so I think something like this has, kills more than multiple birds with one stone.
Lots of bang for your buck
Yeah.
with this kind of
Development,
But I'm sure there are people that are probably pushing back on this. I mean, right? You
Yes.
guys are, you hear it all. What are kind of the different sides of this as you try to be as objective as you can about it?
Well, the people who live nearby have concerns related to
traffic.
a population density sort of a thing that brings traffic issues.
Right.
They're worried about, is there enough water? They're worried about where are these people going to park? What if everybody who lives there is all going to have overnight guests one night? Are they going to be parking in my driveway on my street next door? It's all of those
Unknowns.
By and large, most of the concern arises from the people who live nearby.
Because
Now,
in general, we all want people to be able to afford housing. Like in general.
yeah,
But
but
in general, we in Portsmouth, we don't have that kind of density.
Yeah.
Those kinds of.
there's not a whole lot of multifamily living.
Right. So
here.
that would just
So it's
represent
a
a little
little
departure
different.
for us.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, and I think people are always nervous about change.
That's no truer words could be
Yeah,
said, right?
everyone's concerned about their property value being somehow adversely impacted.
True. Right. But then on the other hand, like in the schools, we hear about declining enrollment, and we hear about, that some of our state aid is impacted because we don't have as many students, and we have room, we have capacity to take on more students.
Right.
So having more affordable
We need
housing,
families with their kids here that can
more
afford it, right?
options for families. Yeah.
And part of the issue
Yeah.
too is that for more than 20 years now, we have not been in a position to comply with state law. Back in 2005, when I was first on the town council, one of the very first things we did was pass the low and moderate income housing plan that was required by every community under the law at the time, that would explain this is how we're going to get the town of Portsmouth from where we currently are with low and moderate income housing, as it was termed back in the day, which represented about 2% of our housing stock, to 10% or more. And here we are 20 years later, and we're sitting at about 2% of our available housing is low or moderate income.
Right.
So we haven't made any progress, and because of that, many of these laws.
We're not the only community.
No!
For sure.
Oh, no!
I imagine across
Yeah.
the state.
Pretty much.
Maybe
this
is
is-
anyone? Is there
Newport.
any?
Newport.
Newport?
Sure.
Good on
I mean,
Newport.
the population centers, as you might imagine.
It's a little easier from a density perspective.
Yeah. So Providence, Woonsocket,
Well, I shouldn't say easier.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just-
Wow.
The opportunity is there because, for one thing, it's nice to be near a transportation hub of some sort, so that you can easily get to work.
Yeah.
Some of the bills we passed were encouraging that kind of development because there's a recognition that having a development like that near transit
Yes.
is important.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah.
Wow. It's all connected, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to have the transportation with the housing and.
Yeah.
And on the island, we've had the discussion about the gas moratorium.
Yeah.
So that's another
does
little
that-
entering.
How does that loop into
Well,
all of this?
I was trying to figure that out, so I did have an email exchange with Christian and was asking, what would it take for you to be, to meet those net zero goals that the state has.
And Christian from Church Community
housing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just asking him about, the development of.
Did you get an answer? What would it take?
Yeah, because in Middletown they just built a building. I think it's West House. I think they call it West House 2, which is kind of back behind Middletown Town Hall, and that one nearly is energy. They're using heat pumps, air source heat pumps. And because of the way that building's constructed with a flat roof, I think it was easier to insulate it and build it so it was so energy efficient that the heat pumps would work in that building. But he also told me in the same email that the development on Bristol Ferry, how do we say that? Ada Bethune. Ada Bethune. Thank you. Sorry, I get that tongue-tied with that. That house, because we have the pitched roof and the look
That's tricky.
they weren't able to do it there to fall in that funding stack that they have to be in to make it affordable.
so many things.
There's a lot of complications, but he did give me a nice detailed answer, which is very helpful for me to understand,
Well, as you go out and represent
Yes,
us. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So listen, we are less than a minute left. Is there a final call to action for our viewers related to housing at all that you just would like to leave them with?
Have an open mind towards the possibilities for various types of construction, and not the single-family home stuff, but the multifamily home, because that's really the shortest, most effective path to increasing our housing stock. One, to be able to comply with state law, but secondly, back to the comment you made at the beginning of this, so our kids have a fighting chance to maybe live here after they grow up and not have to move away.
You got it. You got it. Wow. What a
Good.
perfect note to end
Great.
on. Thank you,
Great
Jim.
summary.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Hope you guys will be back soon to join us.
Sure.
Sure.
This has been Portsmouth This Week. We'll see you next time.